But as I saw for many years, it would have been over 40 years. I know I don't look that old, but over 40 years, I was educating myself massively and not getting those results. So can you just sort of talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So we were raised to deify the intellect. So we go to school, we taught you got to gather all of this knowledge. And, knowledge is sacred. And we were sold a lie. And the lie is this, that knowledge is power. Knowledge is sacred, but knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. Applied knowledge is where the power is. So when you internalize it, and I'll qualify this, you can find somebody with degrees coming off their CV, off their resume, but they cannot find work. And then you'll find somebody who might be a high school dropout, and yet they build a company that operates all over the world. That's proof that knowledge does not necessarily translate into results unless it's internalized, because like I've already said, the paradigm in the subconscious, that creates your behavior. 96 to 98% of our results, our perceptions, and our behavior come from this paradigm, from the subconscious mental program. Only 2 to 4%, Emma, comes from the conscious thinking mind. And people deify the intellect, the conscious thinking mind, and they think that's where the answer is. And, like your experience was similar, my experience was similar. Because we fall in love with this material, we start consuming books, podcasts, video. We start and we consume all these books, but we read it once or we read it twice. We feel good, we take it in, but we become top heavy. So where only 4% of your power comes from, we gather all the information there, and the main source of everything that's been created in your life, the subconscious, we do not internalize it. So the only way you're going to effectively change your results or become who you want to become or achieve that goal that's on your 2024 list is by moving the ideas that are going to get you there into the subconscious. And that's a process. That's a process. You've got to get involved, as you have, Emma, in some elite level mindset coaching program combined with professional coaching over a reasonable period of time. And you can do it. I mean, I know if Emma could, if I could, you can. But it's, you've really got to understand the mind. Our schooling system, our environments growing up have taught us that, you just got to read something, remember it, and repeat it, and you've got it. The big question is, are you doing it? And as we get older, right, Emma, we gather more knowledge, we're reading more books, we're consuming, but we seem to be doing less. So this gap between what you know and what you do essentially gets wider, and the widening of that gap creates confusion and frustration. So, simple example, someone goes on a diet and they go to a party and they've said to everybody else, everyone in the family knows they're on a diet. They go to a party and there's beautiful chocolate cake, and they just can't help themselves. They go and grab a slice, and someone says, I thought you're on a diet. And they said, yes, I am. And why are you having the cake? I don't know. That's because the paradigm in the subconscious, which has not shifted, creates the behavior. Once it's in integrity, or you align what you want on an intellectual level versus what's happening in a subconscious, habitual level, once you align that, then the behavior is automatic. Like, I can tell you my side, exercise is a normal thing for me. I train 4 times a week. And that's a given. Like every week, it's a given. I don't even need to think about it. In fact, when that doesn't happen, then it feels like something's off. But that's because that's a part of my paradigm. It's a part of my program now. So, you just need the tool set like you have, Emma. Everyone listening to us, you just need a tool set to understand how to move these ideas into your subconscious, because we all know how to do better. But the big question you need to ask yourself, are you doing it?
Amazing. And do you think, so I've got a question for you. So I was listening to a chap, Ed J.C. Smith, who does Expert Coach. And he was talking about, I think it was like a YouTube star. I'm afraid I can't remember his name because I'm not that down with the kids. But he was giving a few examples. But one of them was this young 17-year-old kid still at college, let's say, and he decided to do some videos. And he did a video of where he was going to be, for instance, I don't know if I'm telling the story exactly, but for instance, in 6 months' time, and then in a year's time, and then in 5 years' time, and 10 years' time. And these periods have pretty much gone now. And at the end of the 6 months, he posted that video. And at the end of the year, he posted that video, and then the 5 years and the 10 years. And every single one, you can imagine the first one, he's 17 years old, probably a little bit spotty, a little bit, not really knowing himself, but just had a little vision. And it was something like, he wanted to have 1 million followers or something like that. Mm. And then when he when he actually posted these videos, I mean, he'd absolutely smashed it out of the water. So do you think that kind of process, because that's something that to the average person, if you're making that commitment, is kind of something that's really scary? And maybe rather than, we hide away, don't we? We hide away, we write down our goals. We most probably don't even share them. We don't tell anyone else, because if they don't happen, they don't happen. So it may be, as you talked about, needing to allow it, it maybe has some blockages there. Whereas, this actual action of getting out there and really exposing yourself, I suppose, to the world, actually meant that the results were even bigger. And you hear lots of different examples of this. So I just wondered, throwing it back at you, excuse me, was that process, was that part of kind of shifting that subconscious to help maybe move things forward? What do you think that kind of process helped with?
So here's what I think. This guy put himself on the hook. Now, we let ourselves off the hook. But if you've hired a personal trainer and he's there at 5 a.m. in the morning, or you've made a promise to somebody, the likelihood is you're going to follow through with that. If you wake up at 5 a.m., it's a bit chilly outside, you don't feel like going out to the gym, you're gonna turn over and you're gonna let yourself off the hook. But if you know you've got a personal trainer waiting for you, you're gonna hop up and you're going to get to the gym because there's someone waiting, there's somebody holding you accountable. So all this, what it sounds like to me, Emma, this young man, this young boy at 17, he made himself accountable to the entire world because, he put it out there online. And think of what a driver that could be. One of my other mentors, he used to say, tell the whole world about your goal. Like, put yourself on the hook, make yourself accountable to everybody, because that's really going to drive you.
Yeah, absolutely love that. We've got Tiffany who's asked a couple of questions. I wonder if I might sort of throw those over to you, Lee.
Sure.
She has said, I'm currently struggling with overwhelming thoughts of the big picture to replace my income. I'm imagining this is through property. How do I break down that goal so I feel like I can manage this? And then she's put, do you have any recommendations on a book to help with mindset and self-belief to achieve this? I'm going to leave you to do that because I've got an Amazon delivery.
Sorry, Emma, the lady's name?
Tiffany.
Tiffany, great question. So what I'd start with is you've got to add a lot of detail to the goal. So it sounds like you've got a goal, you've defined the income goal that you're going towards, but you want to draw a picture clearer with regards to that income goal. So that goal would mean that you'd need to serve 10 retainer clients a month, or you'd need to have 10 rent-to-rent properties, or whatever it is, right? You need that. And this is what your life looks like. You employing 1 or 2 people. But my point is basically you need a clearer, more vivid picture around what that goal or that state of being is. And then how you're going to break it down. This is normally my process. I know Emma's been through it. Set 6 action steps. So that after you've clarified your goal, it's crystal clear, like I've said, then set 6 action steps in terms of where you are now, the things you can do right now to get moving. Now, a lot of people won't set the big goal because they cannot see the entire staircase to get from where they are to the goal, Tiffany. The thing is, you go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you can see further. Like if you're driving from London up to Liverpool, you don't see the entire road, but you know if you take this specific highway, and which highway is that, Emma? If you take the specific highway, the road unfolds but you know if you keep going down that road, eventually you're going to end up in Liverpool, right? Now, it works similarly with your goals. You just got to go as far as you can see. Anybody who's achieved anything great, when they started out, they didn't know how they were going to get there. But they just took the next step. And when they got there, they could see further. And then they took the next step. With regards to your second part of your question, what book can you read? One I'd always recommend is Think and Grow Rich. But here's the thing, Tiffany, don't just read that book once. Read it over and over and over and over again. I mean, Emma read it 5 times, and that's impressive. Emma, I think I've read it up well over 40, 50 times already. But that man, Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, he interviewed 500 of the world's most successful people in the early 1900s. Amongst them, guys like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller, Woodrow Wilson, who was one of the US presidents, Alexander Graham Bell. I mean, it's just a laundry list of hugely impactful individuals. And he studied them over a quarter of a century, 25 years. He worked with them. He tried to understand their philosophy, what made them tick, how they thought. And that's how he created, this book, Think and Grow Rich. And if he spent his entire life, 25 years, creating this, I think it would be a prudent move on your part to spend the rest of your days trying to understand this philosophy. But once again, don't become top heavy. Don't just read it to intellectualize the ideas in here. Read it over and over. My mentor, Bob Proctor, he read this book every day for 61 years. I mean, think about that. And I mean, it's not like, but he'd read a little bit from this book every day. He'd read a little book. Sometimes he'd just open the book at any page and, he'd pick up or he'd read something. But read it every day, over and over and over. And I think the key thing, as you go through it the second, the third, the 5th time, or however many times you decide you're going to go through it, ask yourself, are you doing it? The ideas he gives you. So like in the desire chapter here, he'd say, write a goal on a card, carry it with you. It's easy to read that and say, that's a nice idea, but are you doing it? That's just a simple thing. There's many, many ideas. There's questionnaires in here. There's a lot. So this would be a key book I'd recommend for you in terms of helping you to get rid of that doubt and to build up self-belief. I hope